Hey everybody. So this is our ongoing Buffy the Vampire Slayer tier ranking series. We are on to season 6, the back half of it. So we're doing episodes 12 through 22. And we just wanted to right off the bat just say this part of the season actually has some pretty like controversial stuff in it. So there's a little bit of a content warning. I don't know how much we're going to get dive into a lot of those types of issues. But if we do, there's a fair warning up at the front here.
Welcome back, everybody, to Welcome to Primetime. I'm your host, Hunter Chambliss. I'm joined by my co-host, Chad and Carrie. How's it going, guys?
It's going great.
I am looking forward to this. We are doing Buffy Season 6, Part 2. So that is from episode 11, Gone, to episode 22, the finale. I can't wait to get into it.
12 on, right? Because we'd already talked about Gone. In the
That's
first.
right. That's
So
right. 12 to 22.
Double Meat Palace to Grave.
Yep.
And I'm very excited. I actually I got very I had such a good times talking the first part of season 6 with you guys that I actually just watched the whole season again. It's had a lot of fun doing it because I really do like the season quite a bit. So I got really excited to check it out so I could be fresh when we talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. Carrie, how are you doing tonight?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm definitely looking forward to getting into this season. I know a lot of people do not like this season. It's very divisive among fans. I actually really like this season. I like how it delves deeper into like kind of adult topics and like how it is kind of darker. But it does have, it's comedic moments sprinkled in, so it doesn't feel too dreary to me. So yeah, I can't wait to get into it and talk about it. So Carrie, do you want to start with your first episode and where you want to rank it?
What's she gonna start with?
I'm gonna start with a very fun episode, which is the first episode in this back half of the series, of course. And that's Double Meat Palace.
Oh, okay.
And that's where Buffy goes to work at the Double Meat Palace. And the whole time you think the secret ingredient is, and Buffy thinks it is people, but really it's vegetables. They're all veggie burgers. It's so fun. The monster is really fun. It sucks to see, Buffy, like, she feels pretty defeated. You can kind of tell, like, working in a fast food restaurant. But it's a really fun episode, and I have a fondness for the Double Meat Palace. Like, I just think it's so fun. So yeah, I would say this is a solid A tier episode for me. This feels like just a very classic episode of Buffy. There's a monster of the week, but we get some badass fighting, and we get a lot of jokes.
Chad?
Yeah, I'm actually yeah, I was initially thinking maybe high B for Double Meat Palace, but I'd go low A on Double Meat. I don't think it's like a fantastic episode, but I do like it. A lot of people wonder who really is the big bad of season 6. And while I know what the answer truly is, a lot of people will say that it's life is the big bad, and it's just everything coming at all of our heroes, and basically everyone's hitting rock bottom in this season. But Buffy now has to not only fight the forces of evil, but get a day job. And so she tries out a bunch of stuff, and then she finally starts to work in beautiful fast food, and she gets to see a video of how they actually make the burgers, and
The
how
training video is so funny.
It's one of those things to where you're just like, oh my god, and you're just like sitting there. It feels like it's a good kind of like, I don't want to say satire, but a good like commentary on like what those places really are. and that they're just kind of like dead end jobs. You have like the one guy working on the grill, like, he's like, I got all this grease plugging up my ear, and he's like,
Yeah.
it's like they say, all the grease built up and formed a kind of plug. And I just love the way he talks about it while he's teaching her how to do the grill. The guy was like, it's very simple. Anyone can do this. There's a button that has, a milkshake on it. You just press that. You don't know if there's an actual like monster of the week in this thing, or if you're just gonna watch Buffy work at a fast food place. And you do find out that there is a little old lady, spoiler, a little old lady who you see at the beginning. She's like, I come here every day. And turns out she's the one turning, not turning people into burgers, but killing people. And at first they do think maybe it's Cat and not people. And then she transitions to people, because you remember
Yeah.
like when Xander's eating the burger, she's like, I think it might be cats. And he's like, cat, as eating the burger. And every time she tries to get a burger to study it, to see what it might be, Xander just eats it.
Yeah.
Like, what, you put a burger down, I'm not gonna eat it. And
I mean, fair.
fair. And so you do have a lot of really fun stuff in there. I did add on it. You get introduced to Halfrek in this episode as well.
Okay.
With Anya. And this is
That's
like
right.
this is one of the things where you kind of start to, after once more feeling, and you see kind of like their doubts and stuff of their wedding a little bit. You get Halfrek coming in, and she's kind of questioning it, like, does he let you be, does he like question all of your decisions and stuff like that? So she kind of like starts to, open up a little bit of like, are you guys really right for each other, kind of a thing. And then of course you get Spike in like under the fluorescent lights in here too.
Yeah.
In the Double Meat Palace and stuff. So yeah, it's a very fun episode. I agree. I'll give it an A, just like Carrie said. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely an A for me. This is a very fun episode. What's great is it kind of gives us a break from the very depressing kind of season, but it doesn't go too far into the camp and too far into the goofiness of it. Like it's treated with some sort of seriousness. By the way, I'm not sure if there are any Psych fans out there, but the new manager, the new manager, it plays Chief Vic in Psych.
Yeah,
and I saw her and I was like, Chief Vic.
Kirsten Nelson. It's because we watched Buffy before Psych, and then we watched Psych, and then the next time we watched Buffy, we went, holy shit. So yeah, we had the same realization.
I always get to see her. This is a very fun episode. So yeah, definitely an A tier for me.
I love how like everybody goes like, so what's in the burgers or whatever. It's like it's a meat process, and then
the meat process.
And then when she goes, at the very end, she's like, it's vegetables, right? How do you know that?
Yeah, she kind of
closes the door, like
blacklists her way to keep the job.
Yeah, she's like, well, what do you want? Do you want money? It's like, no, I want a job.
Which is kind of asking for money in a way. So
yeah. And then she's like, this is what I want you to work towards, Buffy. 5 years. Button. And they kind of
old manager was weird though. He was very creepy.
Manny.
They do kind of drop the Double Meat Palace subplot, as we go, but we get into more important shit. So
yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's move over to Chad for his first episode.
Okay. So I'm going to go on to one that I think is an S tier.
Oh.
And I think it is, where is it? Normal Again. So I don't know if Carrie and I are actually going to diverge here on this one. But I think Normal Again is pretty incredible. Just because of one thing that Buffy does really well, the show Buffy, is that um, they love to basically kind of change things up under the fans' noses and just like go and kind of mess with them a little bit and go, we're going to do this and just see what everybody thinks, kind of a deal. And so that we did that with Superstar and Jonathan. We did that with the entire concept of Dawn, basically gaslighting the audience and stuff like that. And here it is. It's not gaslighting here, but it is kind of a trippy episode where Buffy gets stabbed by I forget what the demon is called. I think Spike is the one who knows what kind of demon it is or whatever. It's not a Mufashnik, but she gets stabbed and then she basically starts seeing herself in a psych ward. And when she does this, it becomes very, very convincing to her and kind of to the audience too, that like, wait, is the world that she lives in, the fantastical world with demons and vampires and friends who are witches and stuff like that, and she's a slayer and the hero of her story, is all of that real? Or is it just in her imagination? And she's truly back in the psych ward that she was at, and she never left. And I think it's such a really cool mind thing. I don't think it was the first time this has ever happened in a show, and it wasn't the last time that has happened. I mean, even recently, Moon Knight, Marvel's Moon Knight, had a similar thing. Yep. And I mean, that's Buffy. That's normal again. And so I can't say that this started that type of episode, but I do think it's a very, very great version of it. And I just love how, she ends up turning on her friends and everyone. And she just thinks that the world is so fucked up where she is right now in the show that it's possible that it could all just be a lie. She just went to heaven and came back. And so, I feel like she's in a very good state to believe something like that. And she chooses, initially she chooses to stay at the psych ward because she gets to see her mom. You get the return of Kristen Sutherland. Is it Christine Sutherland?
I think it's
Christine Sutherland. And you get the return of the actor who plays her dad. I don't know his name. I love how as soon as she gets kind of like snapped out of it and comes to her senses, she realizes that her friends basically love her unconditionally, and kind of vice versa, because later when Spike basically threatens to reveal their like sexual relationship, she basically goes, tell them it doesn't really matter what you tell them now because I tried to kill them and they don't care. Kind of a deal. I mean, not that they don't care, but they forgive me because they know that I wouldn't do that.
It wasn't me.
Circumstances. Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's great. I love it. I say S tier.
Carrie?
Oh, I wasn't with you until you said the last part, and I do think that is like a ton of growth for Buffy to realize that her friends do love her unconditionally, because I do feel like, this show starts in the place from high school and everyone's insecure in high school, and this is like, that's really probably one of the most grown-up messages of the show. So yeah, I'll agree. Family. I was gonna say A tier, but I'll agree with you that this is S tier. But otherwise, this one just, I think it fucks everyone up because you're like, one, is this show all real? Is she really just in the mental hospital the whole time? I mean, no, that wouldn't be any fun. But I don't know. It makes you think and it makes you paranoid. And
yeah. I just think it's so interesting. I love when shows are able to do that, where they're like, wait, stop. Is this all a dream? And then you're like, fuck, it would be so convincing because the doctor's like, this is all a delusion in her head. And then he starts like recapping all the adventures she's been on.
Yeah.
It's like it sounds ridiculous when he explains it. And you're just like yeah, it does sound ridiculous, doesn't it? This show is weird.
Yeah, I agree. S tier. This was one of my S tiers to begin with. I think it's really cool how they kind of interconnect the Buffy's real world and then her the asylum, and they go back and forth. Especially at the end where she's not sure what she's doing, and she's just like curled up in a ball, like not sure what's going on. And like you have Joyce talking to her on one end, you have Xander and her friends talking to her on the other end, and they're kind of dueling back and forth with her, which was kind of the overarching of the season, which is like if Buffy was in heaven and now she got brought back, like her soul and her personality are being pulled in multiple different directions. And literally in this episode, she is being pulled in two different directions. She's not sure which one she should go with. I do love when when Buffy is stalking Dawn to attack her. She goes, "What's more possible? Like me being a slayer and like my sister not being real, or me just making this up and being in an insane asylum? Which one sounds like it'd be real?"
Yeah, and I tell you what, like it's scary as hell. You realize that like because you love Buffy so much that she's a great hero, but you kind of get to see Buffy from the perspective of like the demons, because she's going after people that you also love, and then you're like, oh my god, suddenly you see like how scary she could be if she were like a bad slayer. She were like, not that Faith is always a bad slayer, but she were like more of like the Faith type. And it's also very kind of creepy when she decides to stay in the real reality that we know, and the Buffy in the insane asylum is basically dies, and that's really really sad.
Yeah.
And we also get a little bit of backstory for Buffy when we find out that she was in a mental institution. It doesn't really, it's not really that great about like talking about mental health and stuff like that, but I don't think in like the early 2000s we were really there yet. So
no,
but that's not really the episode either. But Hunter, what's your episode?
All right, so I'm gonna go with one that is my A tier episode, which is Older and Far Away, which is the one where Dawn makes a wish to make sure that everyone at Buffy's party stays in the house, and they literally cannot escape. So it's everybody from the entire crew, Spike. I forgot the demon's name that shows up at the end. He's got like the floppy ears. I love him. Yeah, he's there too. He's hilarious, by the way. This is an A tier episode for me. One, it's a really fun episode to keep people in one location and get to see different interactions. Like I love the scene where Anya is trying to force Willow to use magic to get everyone to escape, and she keeps pushing, and then it takes Tara having to step in and be like, "Hey, back the fuck off."
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It still shows that Tara still loves Willow and she's proud of her, and she's not going to let someone push her to go down that dark road again. I love the interaction between Buffy and Dawn, where she's like, she feels like she's, the person on the outsides of Buffy's life, because Buffy won't treat her like a young adult. She's treating her like a kid. And she really, and that's the overarching story for Dawn, which is like at the end of the season, she gets Buffy's respect, and Buffy learns to treat her like a young adult by letting her fight side by side with her, and teaching her to train. And that really starts here and then moves on to the last episode. So yeah, definitely A tier for me. I really enjoyed this episode.
You want me to go? You want to
You can go.
go? Yeah, this is a high A tier. And it's only not S for me because there's another. If we had three S's, I could see actually saying this one because I don't know. I just love bottle episodes. It's got like about a 10-minute setup, but then right after that, as soon as people are in the house, after she makes her wish and all that, it's a bottle episode. I think it's really incredible. Like every time Buffy has a kind of like tropey episode that they do, like the episode where no one can talk, the bottle episode, the musical episode. It's always like the best of that type of episode. That's what Buffy does. Is they don't fuck around. They just make the best type of episode that you can watch of that kind. And I think it's no different here. I think this is really incredible. You have a lot of Dawn dislikers, I guess haters out there. You'll have a lot of people who say that season 6, Dawn doesn't really get much to do. And while I'll agree with that, you at least right here you have a very Dawn-centric episode. Where it kind of mirrors a little bit, I think, like the episode where she finds out she's the key in season 5 and she like cuts herself, and that's really heavy and stuff like that. And here it's in the house again. They're all trapped and they're kind of forced to spend time with Dawn because she feels ignored, like no one wants to be around her. And that's why, and I've tried to figure out like what is the theme of this, like if I could boil it down to one word, and I think the theme is kind of like control, or like the illusion of control. And so Dawn basically is losing all control because like no one sees her as an adult because she's a kid, and no one has time for her because they're all busy with their jobs, or whatever monster it is, or the trio, whatever it is. And so then she in order to cope with that, she starts stealing, and that's how she tries to gain control. But then it becomes like kleptomania, and then she loses control and just starts stealing a bunch of shit. And then everyone finds out, but yeah, you do have a lot of really fun moments. Like you said, Clem is a very good, people are like bringing people they know from work over. And the one girl's like saying about like all of her allergies. And people are trying to set Buffy up with this guy from, I think, Xander's work. And then in the middle of it, you have this one. So it's not only Halfrek who trapped everybody there, but you also have a demon that is trapped in the sword that comes out.
Cool.
It's trapped in the wall and is trying to kill
people.
And
it comes out.
Yeah, and then you got the dialogue between Spike and Tara, because Tara's the only one who knows about her sexual relationship with Spike, Buffy's sexual relationship with Spike. And so you got like funny stuff like that.
How's your cramp doing, Spike?
Right. It's a thing. And so this episode does have a lot of great stuff. And people are like, have you tried leaving this house? Like when they figure out that they can't leave because it's a party, so it makes sense for them to be there, and they're like, why isn't anyone leaving? So yeah, it's really great. And I love that episode as well. And then it's really funny because they call Halfrek there, and then she can't leave. And then they're like, you got to break your own spell because that's the only way you can leave.
Yeah.
It's like, hope you learned something. All right. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's a great episode.
Yeah. I say
Carrie?
here for all those reasons.
Nothing else to add.
I don't think there is anything else to
Sorry.
add. It's okay.
One of my favorite lines from
the magical decorations. We talked about that, right?
Yeah. The magical decorations.
I messaged in the group when I was rewatching this. I said, you know what? I'm fine with Willow using magic to put up decorations. And Hunter was like, no, but she's gonna get addicted. And I was like, I know, but decorations though. What were you gonna say, Hunter, about a quote?
I love when when Tara comes in and she sees Spike and Buffy, and she goes, Spike goes, "Oh, it's a cramp in your pants."
That's a thing.
It's so funny. All right, so high A tier for that one. Let's move back over to Carrie for her next pick.
Okay, I'll choose for my next one
I wonder what she's gonna choose.
Dead Things, which I think is one like a little mini content warning for
Yeah, I'd say so.
for domestic
This is
violence
what we can talk
and assault.
about this one pretty well, I think.
Yeah. This one, I think it is a really well done episode. I don't know. I'm trying to decide between A and B tier. Maybe you guys can decide.
I'm probably gonna say A,
Okay.
and I can tell you why, but I want you to.
I'll say A too.
Whatever you want to say.
Yeah, this is one where Warren, like the trio, but it's mainly Warren, like mind controls Warren's ex-girlfriend, and they make her their slave, and then they accidentally kill her, and then not accidentally, they murder her.
Well, yeah.
I guess it's like kind of an accident, but I don't really remember. Actually.
I think I think Warren hits her.
Yeah, so it's not.
Yeah, Warren hits her with a bottle.
Like straight up murders her. Obviously, he is not. Well, not obviously.
I don't think he means to kill her, but he means to stop her from escaping, and then he does kill her, but he doesn't hold back, and he doesn't really care that he killed her.
Well,
so it's problematic either way.
It's murder.
Oh, it's definitely murder. Well,
it's definitely murder.
I don't know what degree it is, but it's definitely murder.
Yeah. And then they basically do some stuff to make Buffy think that she did it, and Buffy goes to like turn herself in, and she like has this really intense moment with Dawn where she's like, "Yeah, Dawn, I'm leaving. I'm turning myself in." And Dawn's like, this is what leads into Older and Far Away. Is Dawn's like, "You're literally just gonna leave me here? Like,
I just got you back, bro."
Again.
And like Buffy thinks it's the right thing to do. It probably is the right thing to do. Her friends are trying to convince her, and Spike is trying to convince her that like, no, you're the Slayer, and these things just happen, and like you can't be held to the same standard. But we know Buffy. She is like in this series, she is the hero. She doesn't kill humans. And eventually Buffy figures out, right, that Warren killed Katrina, and he is actually the responsible person. She has this very intense scene with Spike as well, where she beats the crap out of him.
Yeah.
And he just kind of keeps
you always hurt the ones you love.
Yeah, that only makes her more upset.
Yeah.
So
she shouldn't beat the shit out of Spike.
Yeah. This one it's hard to watch because of the content, but I do think it's very good for the entire season because it hits on this theme of like Buffy is still not in a good place emotionally. She's still turning to like basically sex and violence to feel anything. She kind of almost
addiction.
And Dawn points out that like you're going to go away again. You're going to jail. It's almost like you don't want to be here. This is an excuse for you not to be here anymore, not to be present. And Buffy still kind of is just going through the motions of things at this point.
Going through the motions. Losing all her drive.
Yeah, so I think for Buffy's character development, this is just such a great episode. And unfortunately, it's such a dark episode, though. A dark episode for Buffy, a dark episode of the show generally. But it is a good episode. It's just hard to watch.
Yeah, so I can totally see why you were thinking about maybe B because it's such a hard watch. But I think this one especially, even though it's a hard watch, I do think it has so many great themes, so many great lines, and it kind of like, I don't know how Hunter feels about like the trio now that he saw the whole thing. I'm sure, just like everyone, you do not like Warren, because that would be problematic if you
serial
did.
killer if you
Yeah, if
liked
you like
Warren.
Warren.
Yeah, 100%.
Don't clip that out. Don't clip that out. But no, Warren is terrible. But the thing that I like how when you're introduced to the trio, they first start to formulate their plans. Like, you want to get together and take over Sunnydale? Sure, why not? And when they're going over their board of what they want to do, they're just like talking about like, girls, 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 and kind of like sex slaves and stuff like that. And to like a young male's mind who hasn't really been taught about like respect and stuff like that, you could totally see someone thinking that that would be a really cool thing to do. If you could mind control somebody and just get them to do whatever you wanted to do, there you go. And then they get to do it here, and then Katrina wakes up, and then she says, like, she freaks
this
out.
line is great.
She says, "You guys are just trying to rape people now." And then not Warren, but everyone else, Andrew and Jonathan, are like, "Wait, what? No, what?"
Jonathan has this look of like, wait, what?
They have no idea that this constitutes rape. And I think that is a really good thing to show in a show like this, because when you look at rape culture, there are certain things like that people don't think about as abuse. And I think that is a really good message for the show, because Katrina comes out and like calls them out. Another thing in this episode that Carrie actually made me think about is that it's another kind of addition of Buffy's whole thing where anytime something gets hard or difficult, she either wants to leave or something, because it kind of goes back to season 3 when she left to go to Chicago,
LA.
LA. Why did I say
LA?
Chicago? LA. And then and then immediately when she gets back, she starts to pack her bags again. And then I think that's why the ending of this season is so good, is because she starts to realize that she has people in her life that love her unconditionally, that she cares about too, and that she wants to be here for, and why life is worth living. And, so I think this is another kind of notch that helps her start to realize that. When Dawn is, begging her to stay and stuff like that. But I also love that Buffy is just through and through 100% a hero. If she does something wrong, she's going to turn herself in and stuff, even though she kind of feels she doesn't really have anything to live for anyways right now. And then the other thing that I love about this episode is at the very end is when she tells Spike that she's done with him, and she calls him William. And when she does that, I'm like, oh my God. Like, the significance of that is that everyone just treats Spike like he's trash. And then finally, Buffy's the one who actually treats him like a human being and makes him want to be a better man. And we'll get more into that in later episodes of season 6, but also we'll get more into that in season 7. Which is one of my favorite arcs is Spike's whole thing. So yeah, there's a hiccup.
So, are you going with A tier?
Oh, Dead Things, yes, definitely A tier.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with A tier. I think it's a powerful episode. I think calling out, that type of abuse in a way that they did, it didn't beat around the bush. It didn't say, oh, well, maybe this is something else. Like, they called out what Warren and the trio were doing as rape, which it was. You are doing something without someone's consent.
Yeah.
And the fact that they called that out so abruptly, I really love, because, again, as you said, if you're watching this as, a 12 or 13-year-old, the opening of this sounds, oh yeah, this is really cool. Like, and then at the end you realize, oh, like this can go bad in so many different ways. So I'm glad that they really called it out for really straight so everyone can understand, even if you're young and you don't really understand what that is, but you kind of have an idea. And they really called out here. It's a really powerful episode. Yeah, and the ending where Buffy says, "I'm sorry, William," it hits differently now that I've seen the the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And it's really powerful. So yeah, I definitely agree with A tier for this one.
And as soon as she calls him William, all you can do is sit there and like imagine him as that young British boy just writing like sappy poetry. You're just like, oh, William.
Randy Giles comes out just a little bit.
And there's like one, because we're acting like the episode is just all grim and doom, which is it's very heavy. But there's one very, I think, like funny, like dark humor bit. It does involve Spike hiding Katrina's body so that Buffy won't get in trouble. And then he goes like, I already took care of it and she'll never be found. It's like, they found her. And he's like, oh, shit. Just thought that was pretty funny.
Man,
they found a body.
That was fast. All right, so we move on to Chad, I believe, correct?
All right. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and skip to the end. And do my other S tier, which is Grave. It's very hard to talk about this episode without talking about the other like two that came before it, because just like the season, I love the season so much, most of it. Just like how the season starts with like a 3-parter or like a 2-parter and then kind of an aftermath. This one has like basically a 3-parter. It's like as soon as one thing happens at the end of a very controversial episode, it like hits the ground running, and there's so much happening, and you get the completion of the arc of at least one character, but then Grave is the conclusion of it all. And I love the scene. You do, like Hunter was talking about, you do get Buffy and Dawn fighting together. You do get the return of Giles at the end of the episode that precedes this one, which is an epic thing. And then, okay, so we're basically, I'm beating around the bush. Willow turns dark in this season, okay? And when we were like in our last episode, just hanging out with Hunter talking about this fun season, we were like, there's some heavy shit in the second part, but then also I don't think you're going to be able to guess what's going to happen to Willow in this season.
You were right.
Willow, I love Dark Willow, is all I got to say. She's one of my favorite things. She might be my favorite big bad next to Angelus. Just because I love how she goes from the beginning just kind of like, flirting with abusing magic and stuff. And then she hits what you think is her rock bottom. And then she has to go on a thing. And then as soon as something happens, she turns the gears up to 11. And she becomes something else. She's like influenced by dark magic and all this stuff. And then after she goes through all that, she ends up in the magic box trying to hunt down, because, spoiler, she kills Warren. And then she's going to go after the
way she kills Warren, though, my God.
The now called duo with Andrew and Jonathan, who kind of hate each other now a little bit. She's going after them, and then she's like, I'm so powerful there. There's no one in the world that can match me or stop me. And then Giles hits her with magic and goes, I'd like to test that theory. And that ends that previous episode. And then this is the episode where, they're battling and stuff like that. And you get a great scene where like the whole season does have a lot of dark stuff. But then you get this one scene, very sweet scene between Buffy and Giles. And she basically lays out all of her problems to Giles. and you think she thinks he might be annoyed or something like that, or
disappointed
judge
in
her,
her,
be
yeah.
disappointed in her, and he just starts laughing, and then they just spend like a couple minutes just laughing together, and it cuts away and then it cuts back and they're still laughing, and like Buffy's like doubled over trying to like get out some other ridiculous stuff that's been going on while he's away, and they're just like cracking up, and it's just a really kind of like cathartic release that you get because it's so dark, and then you finally get some moment of levity, and you're just so glad that Giles is back because he feels like home, and everything, and it's just a warm return. But then there's still peril because Dark Willow, basically takes over Anya and all that stuff. But if you have all that, I'd say maybe A tier, but it turns into S tier when you get the completion of like Xander's arc, where throughout the whole season of season 6, Xander is kind of like passive. He's kind of like not in control of things. Things kind of pass him by. It feels like he's not even in control of his own relationship. And that kind of falls apart and he hits rock bottom. And then this is the thing that he does, is that he speaks up at the end, and he goes and he's proactive at the very end, and he's like, you know what, if the world's gonna end, so be it, but I'm gonna be here with my friend who I love. He's able to save the world with his words by talking to Willow, and it's like, I love weird, Willow from like early on. I love scary veiny Willow, and stuff, and I just love his whole speech to her. It's so sad, and to see her break down in tears and them embrace, and her change from dark Willow back to regular Willow, it's just such a great end to a season. So Grave is an S tier. Sorry, I went on so long.
Cherry?
That's okay.
It's a thesis.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is an S tier. I actually really like how this season ends. It's so unusual. Like, it was very, in every other season of Buffy, right? We've had a big bad who has been built up at some point earlier in the season. We know who they are. There's a big battle. I guess with the exception of season 4, because Restless is at the end of that, and that is like the most unusual Buffy episode. But this is like, very unusual for like entire season. We built up the trio, right, as our big bad, and they're really not our big bad. In some ways, they're a bad, but I guess Willow is the big bad of this season.
I agree. I think she is definitely our big bad of the season.
I guess things Chad didn't mention, because I agree with everything he said.
Can't mention everything.
I really I like how it ends, and like you said, Chad, it's just Xander talking to Willow, and that's how it ends. And like, I don't remember. Giles and Anya, I think, are just trying to figure out if the world's gonna end or not. And then Buffy and Dawn are like battling the monsters in the the grave.
Is it like skeletons?
Yeah, skeletons.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like Buffy's not the one saving the world at the end of this season. It's Xander, and he's not doing it. There's not a big fight. It's just he's talking to Willow. And I like the moments between Buffy and Dawn in this episode as well. I think they're really strong, and like it really shows like Buffy is finally on a journey of healing.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put that. Yeah.
She's not completed yet, but she's finally recognizing that like things will get better, and things can get better for her. I think that's all I really had to add to, but I agree. I think it's an S tier episode.
She figures out why life is worth living.
Yeah.
Yes, I actually agree. This is S tier for me as well. The one thing I do love that you guys haven't mentioned, I don't think, is how this is a perfect continuation to the Willow addiction arc
Mhm.
of the season, because instead of her friends turning on her and fighting her and things like that, which Buffy does fight her, and it's a really cool scene, but you can tell Buffy's trying to hold back because she does love Willow. One thing I do love is that the addiction arc, in addiction, you want like a support group to talk to you, someone you're close to understand, to be able to kind of level you down when you start going down that road of addiction. And that's perfectly parallel to what Xander does. Xander doesn't fight her, doesn't leave her, doesn't walk away. He walks towards her. He walks through the the barriers or whatever, and he's not afraid to kind of come forward and kind of comfort her when she needs it the most, which is a relapse. And in the
Yeah,
addiction terms of she's relapsing and she needs that support system more than ever now. And Xander's the one who pushes through it and becomes her support system.
100%,
Yeah.
dude. Very well put. It's kind of. Did you ever seen Goodwill Hunting? Where it's like, it's not your fault.
Um,
It's not your fault. Yeah, it's kind of like that actually, where
yeah.
it's they're gonna hit you until they just end up start crying on you because they're like, they're want to lash out, but they're just really trying to work through that pain.
Mhm.
And the one big thing we forgot to mention, oh yeah, Spike gets his soul in this episode.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big
Which
deal.
it, Josh Whedon has said that this was supposed to be a misdirect. I don't like how this was supposed to be a misdirect, though.
Like you think he's trying to get his chip out,
Yes. Yeah.
but he ends
To
up getting
attack
his
Buffy.
soul.
Right.
Where when I was younger, I always thought that he was trying to get the chip out.
Mhm.
And then like only like not too long ago when I started rewatching it and talking to Carrie, I was like, oh, he always meant to go get his soul. So I had a misunderstanding when I was like younger about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, they kind of tease that Spike is gonna be the next
big bad.
and-
Yeah.
Mhm.
But where we're going in season 7, because I know Hunter might be a little bit more iffy on Spike now, and I would totally get it if you were after a certain part. But season 7 has a lot of interesting Spike stuff, so I'm very interested
Mhm.
to get there.
I will say though, the phrasings that Spike used in this episode are clearly misdirects, and I don't know if I like it. Where it's like, Buffy's gonna get what she deserves, and
Yeah.
like he rides off his motorcycle. You're like, what else is that supposed to mean? like it's obvious that that was supposed to be a misdirect, just to have a misdirect in there.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you.
But overall, yeah, fantastic episode. All right, it's back to me.
Yep.
All right, I'll go with my high A tier, which is Hell's Bells. This
Okay.
was so close to being my S tier, but I think Grave does a lot more that puts it over the edge. But this episode's amazing. It is, Anya and Xander's wedding day. Everyone's nervous, and this person who shows up thinking that, or is Xander from the future. I don't know if they ever said it was or not. I
It's
don't
not.
think it is.
No.
Right. But he claims to be Xander from the future. It's this old guy, and he shows him kind of a potential future, and it's so fucking sad because if you realize what Xander's family history is throughout the series, where it's like his father was kind of an asshole, and kind of fights with his parents fight, and you see Xander kind of going down that same route of hurting Anya, not doing anything, like, and eventually it's kind of shown in the future that he's going to kill her. And Xander is kind of conflicted of like, do I really want to put her in danger? And at the end, he ditches the wedding. He leaves her at the altar, and it's very fucking sad. But it's a really great Xander episode to really understand what the character is and like get a lot of his backstory, kind of delved into a bit more, and I really, really love this episode. So that's a high A tier for me.
Do you want to go on this one, Carrie?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you, Hunter. And while Chad was rewatching it, it's something I never used to think about a lot as a younger person, like watching this episode. Like how I always just used to, honestly, when I first, I was like, this is so dumb, just a dumb way to get Xander and Anya to break up, but it's not. It's like Xander is not able to work past his insecurities and his feeling like he is going to end up just like his parents and his family. And they're all, and like what perpetuates that is, it's not like a wedding with just his friends who love him and support him. His whole family's there, and they're just like feeding into this fear for him. And it also kind of, I think, makes clear, and something that has been hinting at, I think, more the whole season, was that Xander kind of proposed at a time of like he thought the world was ending, and then kind of wanted to take it back later, but never actually addressed that with Anya. And it really, like, his failure to communicate those feelings to Anya and like work through all of these issues with her just ruins their relationship, unfortunately. I always hated this episode because I not hated it, but I just felt like Anya and Xander, especially,
should be together.
They should be together.
Yeah.
They love each other so much, and then they like Xander just completely breaks her heart, and Xander breaks his own heart. And but besides that, we also get fun wedding shenanigans, like demons at the wedding, but the humans don't know they're demons. It's so fun. We get to see everyone, dressed up in their wedding gear, and that's great. So there are some fun parts to this episode too.
Yeah, I'd agree with A. Some days I would say B, just because it is such a downer, but it's like it is very, very deep, and like people go through this. Like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, because of this episode, try to demonize Xander, but for me, it's like it's a tragedy for both of them, because like it's not like Xander did this out of malevolence. Like he's heartbroken and he just doesn't know what to do and he panics, and you easily see people all the time have feelings that they just don't voice, and it doesn't really hit them until the thing's about to happen, and then they're like, wait, this is a mistake. And you get to see that, like, this demon is just a catalyst for him to realize that. It's not just that, like Harry said, if it were just that, then Anya would be right. Like, it wasn't real. Like, just let's just start over. And he's like, we can't start over. This is not. And it just feels so real to and true to the characters, and it's something that they've been building up the whole season. And just like, they work together, but maybe they also don't. And yeah, and you kind of like think about, like, Xander is always the funny guy, but like, in this season he actually gets to flex his like dramatic muscles a little bit and gets to show that while he's the funny guy, he's the comic relief for the show a lot of the times, he's also a tragic character in a way, because his parents are terrible. Like, they're just terrible to each other. Dad's an asshole. You can see his uncle's not so great either. So he comes from like kind of a broken home life, whereas like, that one time where he's like sleeping out on his lawn or whatever. I don't know. It's just like he doesn't really have a great home life. So you get to see like why he would be so hesitant to get married. And I think Carrie nailed pretty much everything. I did crack up a little bit when I thought of this, because Anya's doing her vows and she wants to say that she's a sex poodle in her vow. Tara's like, I don't think you should say sex poodle in your vows. I think it's a great.
I think Anya Anya is slowly becoming one of my favorite characters in the show.
I was listening to a book. It's like a book. Into Every Generation, I think is what the book is called. And I was listening to an audio book, and they were talking about how like the comedic power of Emma Caulfield, that she's so funny in the show. And there was a time where they found out that James Marsters was funny too, and they compared his humor to Emma's, and they were like, "You're almost on at Emma level of being funny." So just how funny she is. But yeah, it's a very sad episode. It ends up with Xander going off to like a hotel and
Walking in the rain,
walking in the
down
rain
Main
and
Street. There's no cars. Xander.
it's so sad, dude. And yeah,
Doesn't he have a like an alcohol drink in his hand too? He's just like he's drinking on the way like to the hotel.
Yeah, I don't remember well enough. I remember him walking in the rain.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like he has a bag in his head. He's sipping it. So I'm pretty sure it's like a beer or something.
Yeah.
All right. So we put that in A tier. We move back over to Carrie.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Carrie, you know what you're gonna do.
Well, I just have to scroll down to it. Okay, so I'll go with As You Were, which is the episode where Riley returns. I'm gonna say this is actually, I think, a B tier episode, which is a little surprising. You would think like Riley's returning, that's such a big event for Buffy. It turns out he's married. He's just been like, they have like Initiative international version that he's been working on. And then he also like finds out that Buffy has been with Spike, and there's a lot of weirdness around that. Those parts are a little weird. Riley is married now. His wife is actually really nice and really badass. They hunt down some demons. I think like the highlight of this episode obviously is Riley and that he's married and like all of that. It's kind of like the monster plot really takes a backseat here, I think. I don't know. It's just for like Riley's return, like not as memorable as I would want it to be. I guess there's a little bit of closure for Buffy here, which is nice, but I don't know. It's just not one that when I think of this season is a really like a big highlight for me. So I guess that's why I'm saying B tier.
Can I go real quick? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say C tier.
Wow. Okay. You were giving me a look and I thought like, wow, Chad thinks this is an A episode.
Oh, okay. No. I wasn't. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to give you a look. When I laughed, it was because of something in the episode.
Oh.
This, I don't know. It's weird because I'm conflicted because I do love Riley, where apparently
hot take.
It's a hot take because fans hated Riley. Like Carrie watched some like season seven when it was airing. Yeah. I didn't watch any of it when it was airing. I got into it after it already aired, and my first episode was a season 7 episode actually, and then I watched the whole thing over. But I really like Riley, and they were apparently Joss told Mark Blucas, "Don't look at the internet because no one's gonna like you because
wow."
You will never live up to Angel." That's kind of just the thing. Like Buffy Angel was such a powerful ship that no one was ever going to live up to until Spike. And then it's Bangle versus Spuffy kind of a deal. So
Bangle versus Spuffy?
never heard of this?
The stuff like that. And when I do feel like I talk about fan stuff a lot and fandom. But I'll say you and me both, Chad. When we watched this, we were younger and like we didn't go on like Buffy forums. I mean, I would say I really didn't have any connection to like. I didn't really have any awareness of what Buffy fans in general thought about things until like. I don't know. After college, later,
when we started to watch the show again a lot.
Yeah, and like listen to podcasts and stuff. Like,
well, I went on when like AOL Instant Messenger started to be a whole thing with chat room.
AOL.
Oh yeah, Hunter, we're a little bit old.
Shit, Hunter, yeah. AOL Instant Messenger, AIM. You don't remember this? I would go on chat rooms and we would do fan fiction in the chat rooms with people. I did that for Buffy and Harry Potter.
I just went on chat rooms and pretended I was in my 20s. It was not, not good.
I'm glad Carrie didn't get abducted.
I am going to clip this part out and make it a short.
We were gonna have like a whole.
I like literally changed my email.
I Robot Eugene situation with Carrie.
Thankfully, nothing.
There was no demons. After you.
There was no demons. There were no awful people. Actually,
there were, but you just probably didn't meet them.
That caught me so off guard.
I use Yahoo Messenger. Well, because you could just go in
Yahoo
a chat room and then it
wasn't very safe.
A very weird time.
But anyways, so we didn't grow because I mean Buffy is a very Gen X show. We didn't grow up with or like early millennial, I'll say show too. We didn't grow up in that, frame of mind. We watched it when we were like 10 and 8 to 12, I'd say. Anyways, what were we talking about? As you were.
Sorry.
I really like Riley because he's very sweet. Mark Blucas just seems like a guy. He's like because it's like Goodbye Iowa and all that stuff, like the characters from Iowa. Mark Blucas is like a farmer. So like in real life, he's that guy. So, but he was also like an athlete and stuff like that. And it just seems like very, down to earth and not, a stardom kind of person. So I don't know. I like him because of that, but I also just like the character. And I like a lot of stuff that they do with him in season 4. But his return here almost feels kind of unnecessary. Like at first when he shows up, it does feel kind of like, oh, cool, Riley's back. But then after the episode goes on, it's almost just kind of like, did we need this?
It's almost like they brought him back just to be like, ooh, we should have someone who like can come back and be like, oh, Buffy's working at Double Meat Palace.
Yeah.
Buffy's sleeping with Spike. That's so weird.
Yeah.
Like look down on her almost.
You have a whole tent where it's this guy who comes back and he seems like he has everything fucking figured out. Now he's judging Buffy. So yeah, so it's
and I don't know if he is actually judging her, but it just kind of comes. Oh, okay.
I think a little bit because he comes back and he's like, when she's
there's
like,
a scene where he literally says, "Oh yeah," when he sees Spike and Buffy, he goes, "Oh yeah, he's a serial killer," but you forgot about that. And I was like, "Shut up, Riley."
Yeah, and then he's like, do you think I like coming in here saying you sleeping with that idiot? And I also just I don't like how they have Spike like being like confirmed to being the, the doctor with the eggs and all that stuff. It just feels so weird and out of place. Like, why would Spike be doing that? And then like, I don't know, it's one of those where Spike is on a whole arc and stuff, and he wants to be good, and so I just don't know if like this would be something that he would necessarily do. I don't know.
I don't know.
It's a weird episode.
Holding eggs for a friend does sound like something Spike would do.
Maybe I'm wrong on that. It's always felt weird to me. I'm always like, it feels so awkward when Buffy's like, trust me, I know Spike. He wouldn't do this. He wouldn't be the doctor, and then it turns out he is.
He is.
And then it's just like, oh, because I'm always rooting for Spike, and that's why season 6 sometimes it makes it very hard to do, and that's why I'm glad season 7 exists. That's all I'll say for that. And I can't wait to talk about it. But yeah, I'd say As You Were is just kind of, like a filler episode almost, even though you do get the return of Riley. But I'll say a high C. There is one really funny part, and it's Willow in the episode. Because Willow, Sam is really good, and Sam is Riley's wife. And so she comes in, and everybody kind of wants to hate her because she's the one that got Riley or whatever.
Like that bitch.
Yeah. And so Willow's just sitting there like, you want me to hate her? You want me to beat her up or something like that? And but then it turns out Sam's really charming and nice, and she comes up and she tells Willow, like, I knew some heavy Wicca that got addicted and then they're not here anymore. They died. You're so strong to be able to rein that in.
Which was such a good moment. Yeah.
It's a very good moment. So I could say maybe B tier just for that. But also, I do really like that she kind of changes Willow's mind about her. And then when Riley and Sam fly away, Willow just goes, what a bitch.
What a bitch.
It's such a great line.
It's so good. So yeah, I gotta agree with C tier. This was my least favorite episode of this half of the season.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was never a fan of Riley in season 4. I don't. I just.
What about season 5?
Did I mess up? Was he in season?
No.
He
He was in both season 4 and
both.
season 5.
Yeah.
So you just said season 4. I said, what about season 5 though?
Yeah, I never got around to him.
Season 4 though, they really sideline him in season 5 until it's time to say bye.
Yeah, but the only stuff I really like about season 4 is kind of like the hush stuff, and when they find out about each other. There's some good moments, I'd say, with Riley, but
yeah,
I get not liking him too.
To me, he not only does he feel like kind of the Captain America kind of bland, like, soldier character that I'm just like, okay, like, I get it. Like, he's a nice guy, but like, I don't know. I just couldn't connect to his character more and more. And then as the seasons go along, I'm just like, yeah, he's very condescending in a way that, like, he kind of blames Buffy for a lot of stuff in season 5 and season 4. And then he kind of just, like, in this episode, he comes back and sees that, Buffy has slept with Spike, and he's like automatically judging her for that instead of like trying to be understanding about what she's going through. He just kind of immediately puts the blame on her and then just kind of runs off. I don't know. I never really liked that character. So seeing him come back, I'm just like, I mean, yeah, it's okay. Like, it's cool to see returning characters, but I just never really cared about Riley as a character. And then just kind of the Monster of the Week subplot was really kind of generic and boring with the eggs and stuff. So I just couldn't really get into this episode.
Yeah. I think if they had actually done the opposite, had Riley come back instead of kind of being a jerk a little bit there, I feel like if he would have actually apologized for how he was before, I'm sorry for me kind of a deal.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have actually made it more of an A episode, because then it would be closure in a better way that helps Buffy instead of hurts her, when she's already down. You know?
Yeah, it just felt like an unnecessary kind of let's kick Buffy while she's already down episode.
Yeah.
All right, so that goes into C tier. We move back to Chad for his next episode.
What have we not covered? Okay. We've covered almost everything except for 18, 19, 20, and 21, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. What do I go to?
You can go happy or sad.
Yep.
Okay, it's weird because 20 and 21 kind of bleed together a
Mhm.
little bit.
Actually, I would say 19, 20, and 21 blend in together because they like
19's a little separate, but the end of 19 is what kicks it
Mhm.
off. I
But
don't
it
know.
is like one, like literally, like from one day to it's like there's no like week break in time or whatever. It's a continuous story starting with 19
You're correct.
and also it's different with me having the
or
ability
18.
to binge it.
Yeah,
let's do this where I don't want to dictate how we do this, but I'm almost wondering if we talk about 18 and then we just keep going 19, 20, 21.
That's fine with me.
Because
Yeah.
is that okay?
I think that yeah,
All right.
that'll make the most sense at this point.
So
Yeah.
instead of going and then we go back in time.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about 18 entropy. And this is I don't know, jealous Xander episode, I guess you could say. So this is the one where
Oh.
Anya is now a vengeance demon. This one's very complicated. And you can see it from like a lot of different kind of perspectives. And so because it feels like it's a divisive episode, it's got a lot of stuff in it. I want to say high B tier for this one. I don't know where you guys are on this one. I like the episode, but I'm like conflicted on it. Anya becomes a vengeance demon again, and she's immediately trying to get vengeance on Xander. And I've heard takes where people are like, well, Xander, betrayed Anya, and, now she's doing. I've never seen it from that lens where it's like Xander deserves to be crushed now. And you get to see that people are conflicted on that. Like Willow even has a line where she's like, I feel, at the end of Hell's Bells or whatever, she's like, I feel like I should be hating Xander right now, but I just can't.
Mhm.
And just kind of like he did something bad where it's leave Anya at the altar, but you know why he did it. So then he comes back and he's like, I fucked up. I made such a big mistake. And then Buffy's like, just we all make mistakes. Like we've all been there. We've all done stuff like this. And, immediately tries to just be a really good friend. And I feel like, everyone's kind of there. Anya comes in and she's like, you hate him. And then she comes in with Willow and Tara. She's like, you guys are gay. You all with the men hate. You hate men, right? And then they're like, no, we love each other. So kind of a deal, which I always thought was really funny because she's really trying to get them to turn on Xander. No one will because they love Xander.
Mhm.
And Xander doesn't understand. She's like, I wish you're just torn up inside and your insides are all whatever. And then
He goes, I am.
Oh, it is. Oh, it's hurting real bad. And then
That was a funny moment.
real though. But yeah, and then the trio have also implanted a camera inside of the magic box to spy on Buffy, and Spike's going there, I think, to like kind of dull the pain of
To get a spell to get him to like forget the feeling he had for Buffy.
for Buffy.
Mhm.
That's it. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Anya also is trying to forget about Xander because now she can't hurt him because no one will wish it. And then they end up having sex. And people see it. Xander sees it, Buffy, Willow, like, oh. And when they see it,
Dawn sees it, and
sees it. Someone
that was a funny moment because they were like,
and then Xander immediately, and this is one of the big flaws of Xander, is his so reactionary. And but I think it's like a good flaw. It's something he can overcome. And he immediately grabs an axe to go kill Spike. And then they have like a whole big confrontation with Xander and Spike, Xander and Anya, and it's like, it gets weird because Xander's like placing a lot of blame on Anya, but they're like broken up, but it's kind of like friends in a way where it's like, was it a breakup? Were they on a break?
I'm gonna have to push back there. It's
Sure,
not
go
like
ahead.
that.
Okay.
They were very clearly completely broken up for
Mhm.
multiple like weeks or whatever. He left her at the altar. He is
And then it was
really
a few weeks later.
I get what you saying, Chad, about a character flaw of him being that he's so reactionary, because he really has no right to say what Anya does with her life and her body. Not ever, but especially not when they've been broken up. Obviously, it hurts. It sucks for him, especially to see her sleep with someone like so quickly and sleep with someone that he in particular hates.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that justifies his actions in this episode. But I don't think it's like Friends where it's like, oh, we were on a break for one phone call, and this is very clearly they were broken up and she can do what she wants.
I'm not saying that she can't. I never said that she can't.
I know.
Okay. It seemed like you were saying that I said that.
No,
okay.
Sorry.
What I'm saying is that obviously because she didn't know that anybody was watching either, but it also feels like because in the same episode you have Anya trying to murder Xander, that it feels like she's doubling down trying to really get him back when I don't even think he really did anything that wrong. Like in fact, he probably did them a favor by not going through with something that he thought was a mistake.
He did it at the wedding. These are all feelings and things that he should have brought up way before the wedding, and then they wouldn't have been in that situation at all.
But I don't think he realized how deep the feelings were until the wedding. And sometimes you can't really help when the feelings come full blast, is what I'm thinking. But I will say I agree with you. I think that it is a very complex episode in everyone's feelings. And I think you can see it from different perspectives. But yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm saying it's a B, because I don't think it's the best of writing, but I don't think it's weak either. And I think that it's just a very complex thing to throw into the mix. But I have to think about this one a little bit more, for sure, because I think it's more complex. But I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that one.
Carrie,
I agree with B for this one, and I say B and not C mostly because the Willow Tara stuff is so cute.
For sure. Is this the one where they finally got back together?
They like set up a date, and then like Tara comes in and gives this like little speech, and she's like, I don't want to start over. It's so cute.
Can we just skip all that?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Hurts so much.
Come and kiss me. I think is what she said.
That's
like,
the
can you
end
just be
of the
kissing
episode,
me now?
Right?
That part is so good. Yeah, the rest of it is I would say it's consistent with Xander's character. But I feel like it perpetuates a lot of like, I don't know, like ownership over someone else that doesn't actually exist, and like especially getting into the mix of Xander's reaction to learning that Buffy had slept with Spike. But it is it's consistent with his character to have all of those reactions. So
I do think it helps for his growth though, because I feel like with this, because we've seen stuff like this from Xander in earlier seasons.
Yeah.
We see him do it here again. and he like immediately, like not that this episode,
Yeah, because
but
it is separate. Yeah.
later when they're talking in the backyard, he's
Yeah.
like, I don't know why like I'm like this sometimes, and I feel like he's actually talking with Buffy and trying to learn from it. And so I feel like
Yeah.
later we do get more growth with Xander. So
Yeah.
but here, it's not.
Yeah, I mean, I think it all stems from like how Xander's character was written at the time he was
Yeah.
written, going back, and like
It's like one of those things where, like you're saying, like he's kind of like a type of guy. And I feel like it is very consistent. So you get to see like really big flaws. And I feel like people always focus on those.
I think it's because in the show he is, sometimes it seems at least like his flaws are not actually written to be deliberate flaws. They're just like seem to be like very acceptable character traits. So I think that's why people kind of have this a little bit of overreaction to Xander, because I think
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. I still don't think people are fair on Xander, but because I feel like his positives outweigh, like we can talk about specific moments when he's like, Xander, okay. But then like there's so many other times where we could like have like a bigger list of his pros that he's done really great, sweet things.
Yeah, sometimes he does a sweet thing though, and then he says something, and I'm like, why would you say that?
Like a stupid joke or something like that.
Yeah.
He's the funny guy. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
He'll say jokes and not all of them will land. But
I'm just like jokes you shouldn't say like, I don't know, like
wrong time jokes.
Yeah. Or like no good time jokes. Like that's an inside thought.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, he definitely has those for sure.
Yeah.
It's like especially when they take the inside jokes of his and put them on the outside when Buffy can read mind or can hear thoughts.
Yeah.
Nick and Buffy. Oh, what? Stop. Remember?
Yeah. This episode, I agree, B tier. I think the problem I had with Xander in this episode is the same one I had with Riley in As You Were, where it's the moment that Xander finds out that Buffy and Anya have slept with Spike, he immediately places the blame on them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, instead of placing the blame, talk to them, understand why they're doing this, what they're going through, and then you may not like it, but it's not your choice at the end of the day. Like, try to understand why Buffy is going to Spike.
Mm-hmm.
Try to understand why they were doing this. I also love in this episode how, I don't know if it was said in particular, but I don't think Anya slept with Spike as a way of, haha, I'm getting back to Xander by sleeping with the guy he hates the most. It was, they were both in the similar situation. Spike had just gotten hurt by Buffy. Anya was hurt by Xander, and they were just drinking. And it was, they never meant to do that. It just kind of happened. Like, it was nothing where Anya was like, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go sleep with Spike because I know Xander hates him. That would make the dynamic different, and I would understand why Xander was pissed off at that.
Yeah,
but it was just things happen.
But the thing is, from like Xander's perspective, he's not going to have that perspective that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at it from like Xander's mind, you could totally see like, I'm going to fucking kill that guy. And I feel like I've heard someone recently say, someone like in the heat of passion, like doing something, they're not like thinking logically. So, it's one of those things, but
but overall, I think this episode was an okay episode. I don't know how I feel about the cameras being everywhere either. That's very creepy.
Very creepy, yeah.
The trio. They're creepy guys.
They are creepy.
Yeah. And I'm not sure we've gotten to this point, especially in something like a grave, which I should have brought up. But let's talk about the fact that Warren is definitely an incel at this point.
Oh,
Oh
Like
yeah.
he was an incel character before that term was a thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
that's why I think a lot of people now watching this season with kind of newer eyes like it more than people who watched it when maybe it was coming out, because now you see a lot of the ideals of people like that who see women as property, or mind controlling them or whatever, thinking that women are there to serve them, and that's definitely Warren's character in this.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
ahead of its time.
Mhm.
That's why, like, when you have like Xander, acting the way he acts in Entropy, and then you see like stuff that like Warren does, you see that it is a range. And then when you
Mhm.
have Xander next to Warren, you're like, okay, Xander's a good guy who sometimes gets confused. And
Yeah.
when you put them next, because like Warren is legitimately trying to go into a bar and like hit on all these women and control them and beat up their boyfriends or kill their boyfriends. And then Xander's like, all right, why don't you leave these nice people alone and go back to your basement or whatever. But yeah, Warren is it's ahead of its time, and it's a season that, yeah, it's just unfortunately has just shown to be so true to life that people maybe might think it's just eerily true to life.
Mhm.
The characters, because you see people you see people on the internet all the time being the trio, and being not
And
just
it's so
Jonathan
fucking
and
sad.
Andrew, yeah, but being Warren. And because when in Dead Things, when you see him preying on Katrina, you basically you can see that he has some sort of weird, messed up like infatuation with her, where it's almost like he's like, did you like you seen her smile, like, and he only talks like it comes from someone who in their weird, messed up mind could care for someone, but they also have like no capacity to actually care about someone. If I'm not probably not making any sense, but
No, like
it's
yeah, I mean that's a lot of people who are abusers. They love like the idea of controlling someone or owning them more than like the actual person.
yes, yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, and going back to Dead Things for a minute, the moment we didn't talk about that really made my skin crawl was when Warren is mind controlling Katrina, he's like, "Call me master," and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Like that is so fucking
Oh,
creepy.
And
yes.
that's a thing when it gets so weird. It is very hard to talk about because it is so
Mhm.
creepy, and just people think stuff like this is fine. There's certain people that think stuff like that is
Mhm.
fine, and when he's doing that to her and controlling her, it's like using her as a toy, and then he's like, you guys can have her when I'm done, and
Yeah,
stuff like
that's
that. And it's just like this just creepy.
mhm.
Warren is a bad guy. So we, we,
100%.
we covered it.
Like he's someone who would listen and follow like an Andrew Tate advice like
Yes.
nowadays.
Yep.
And to see that still be a thing is disgusting.
Agree.
Yeah, I would say you guys, or at least Chad, I think you guys have been saying this was like ahead of its time, which is unfortunate. Like, I feel like this is maybe
Yeah.
we've just become a little bit more aware of it, but I do feel like it's probably just gotten worse.
Yeah.
Social media has made things a lot worse because people can get
Yeah.
their ideals out.
Yeah. But it also just alerts us to these things more than we would
Mhm.
have been without them. So it's hard to say sometimes, like, if things are actually worse or if we're just more aware of them or like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. It kind of all feeds into each other. If once people like that can interact with each other more, it's no good.
Yeah. All right. Are we ready to move on to the next episode?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is it's my turn now. Oh
Okay.
man. All right, episode 19, Seeing Red, the infamous episode. All right, very conflicted here on where I should put this, because overall I think the episode itself, the structure is really good, but there are moments in this episode that I don't know if I can give it, high praise for.
Yes.
I'm gonna go B tier. I
Okay.
think it's a balanced episode, but the things that we're going to talk about, which again, trigger warning for everybody, before we go into
And we're gonna
details.
the one scene we're gonna go very light on because
Yes,
we've
yes.
already talked a lot about the problematic themes in this, and this is
Mhm.
just another example of it. And
Yeah.
I feel like we could probably talk more about what they could have done instead of what they did do,
Mhm.
to basically get Spike to his soul. Is all I'm trying to say, because there's one thing that happens that gets Spike to his soul, but they could have did it in a different way. I think.
Mhm. Yeah, so I'm going B tier, and we'll get into the reasons why in just a minute. But Chad, you want to go ahead and tell me where you want to put this, and then we can go into more
Sure.
details.
Yeah, we could just all say what our letter grades. I'm actually fine with the B. It's the same with Entropy, where I think that it's a very complicated episode. I feel like there's some stuff that, like we were talking about with like like the way Xander behaves in Entropy, and then the bathroom scene in Seeing Red, as well as a certain character death at the end of Seeing Red are very controversial. I'll say I kind of wish they would have done, not kind of, I definitely wish they would have done the bathroom scene differently, because I don't think that was necessary to get Spike to where he was. But I really like the ending of the episode, despite totally understanding why a lot of people do not, is what I want to say. So it's a very triggering episode. It's a very controversial, very complex episode. But I agree with Hunter, where I think it's structured very well. And I love the final shot of the episode, which I think is epic. And so because of that, I do think it has to be weighted on like a seesaw, like right in the middle on a B. Because I don't think it's S. I think it could be A if one thing was changed. So I'm going to say mid to high B.
Carrie?
Yeah, I agree with B. There's parts of this episode that are good, and there's parts of this episode that are very difficult. And I think, like you guys have said, in hindsight, could have been done differently. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, the bathroom scene, I'm not going to get into a lot of details on it. I definitely think there was multiple different ways you could have gotten Spike to his soul. That this is a moment where, like, going into season 7, I know they're going to do a redemption arc for Spike. I don't know if I'll be able to fully fall into it as I was if this scene didn't happen. Just because it's like, to me, like, Spike and Buffy have a really kind of Joker Harley Quinn relationship that I don't think a lot of people should romanticize, but they're going to do that. Like, on both sides, like, Buffy is, pretty much using Spike. Spike is using Buffy. Like, it's not a healthy relationship.
Right.
But this scene goes way too far to where I get it. You want to show that Spike is a monster, but you could have done any other way but that bathroom scene, and I feel like we could have got the point clear where he needs to get his soul back. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. Like that's my thoughts on it at least.
Yeah, just if just focusing on like Spike and Buffy's relationship, that scene aside, um, it is very weird because it's totally toxic in season 6, and I think that's because they're both in a certain state where they kind of self-hating, and so they use, like you said, they use each other in very negative ways, so it becomes toxic. I think it starts out still kind of toxic, but less so, and I think it gets better in season 7 to where it's one of my favorite things ever. But I totally understand and agree that the way the climax here with the bathroom scene that triggers Spike to want to go get his soul, I think, like you said, could have been done in a different way. I don't know how. Some people say maybe he could have killed Xander or something like that, and I'm like, I feel like that sounds kind of like a dumb. That no offense to someone who thought that, but I disagree just because I think that one oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm confusing this with the other the thing that happens at the end.
Yeah.
But also some people were saying like maybe Spike could have like killed someone closer to Buffy or something like that that made Buffy angry at Spike, and then that caused him to want to go like prove her wrong. Like he's not that evil guy. The scene does get him to that end, but it's such a hard scene to like watch and so triggering that it's like very unnecessary. I didn't used to think that when I was like younger because I just don't really understand that much, but I've grown to kind of see that, like where I'm like, okay, yeah, I rewatching it this most recent time, I was like, this is rough. This is actually way rougher than I keep forgetting how rough it is. I love where they go in season 7 with it, but I think the scene could have been different. I totally agree with that specific part, for sure.
So yeah, let's move on past that to the end of this episode, which I don't know if I like or not. I'm so conflicted on this one.
I'll say for context and right, like I didn't know any of this watching it at the time, and I used to just think like, oh, like that's crazy. They killed Tara, and I love Tara, and I love Tara and Willow, and like this sucks. But the larger context that I've since learned about is, you know, this was a time where like gay marriage was not legal. Being gay was not nearly as acceptable as it is today. There was far less representation.
Like in fact, when Willow and Tara kiss in Hush, or wait, not
no,
in Hush.
It's not in Hush. It's in The Body.
No, they first meet in Hush.
Yeah,
and then in The Body is where they first kiss. They had to fight for that. Where in season 4, Buffy and Riley were having just like sex.
We're making out
an entire episode, just sex, full on sex, the entire episode, and they had to fight to get around the censors to get a kiss between two women.
And a lot of like non-straight relationships at the time were like often, you know, depicted in a jokey way or were unhealthy types of relationships. You know, this was obviously Willow and Tara, especially in this season, had their problems, but it's like a relatively healthy relationship. We get to see Willow has like worked on herself, and you know, they're arriving at a point, and for a lot, and then I think a lot of people who were live watching, like, so one, this was like a very meaningful relationship to a lot of people who identified with Willow and Tara, and then a lot of people watching see Tara's finally in the credits and are like super stoked about it, and like Willow and Tara are back together, and then it ends with
basically
Tara being shot by an incel. It's not even like it's not even like, you know, Tara dies saving the world or like defending people. She's literally she's shot by an incel by mistake. Like
by mistake. That's right.
It's so it's like if you I just don't think the writers really thought through the message that was
impact.
sending. Yeah. And the how much that relationship and Tara as a character truly meant to people.
Yeah, and it's hard to actually really know that, like when you're in the swing of things and you're just trying to keep the show fresh and edgy, and just like, you know, if you are a type of writer like Joss Whedon is, to want to be shocking and to want to shock the audience and be like, you know, you thought you know this how this was going to go down. It's almost like, you know, how we would see later and stuff like Game of Thrones. We're talking an episode called Seeing Red, and then you have the Red Wedding, which is one of the most shocking episodes and stuff like that. So I feel like it's a very similar kind of thing, to where I think even Amber Benson on the Buffering podcast, he's even said that she didn't think that Joss had any wish and desire to destroy so many people's like love for a character and just like, you know, traumatize anyone or you know, hurt them in any, you know, significant way like that. I think he was just trying to create a really good story, and to him that this was a good decision to do that.
I see how I don't think you get Dark Willow, which is the major part. I don't think any other character dying, and because Chad said mentioned like some people have said like if Xander died, Willow would have turned dark.
I think I put that in the chat as well at one point.
I honestly don't think any other character death gets you to Dark Willow. Maybe they could have done it, you know, a different way, like have it be less just, I don't know. I feel like it does, like there is this message of this season where like as strong as, you know, the characters we love in Buffy are, like a guy with a gun or a person with a gun can just change that very quickly, and it can be completely random and meaningless.
It totally feels, but it totally too feels like exactly what someone like Warren would do.
Yes.
And so he does it, and then to write it where, like, you know, kind of like he shoots just a bunch of times, he gets Buffy, but then he totally gets Tara, and I can totally see it from the perspective, because I am a person, I love Tara as a character. So I totally can see that. I don't identify, I am a straight white man. So I don't identify with, you know, her sexuality or anything like that, but I love that relationship so much. So I totally see really, really wanting to have seen that relationship heal, because, you know, we just got it back, and then immediately after they're together again, done. But like Carrie and I were saying, it's the perfect way to turn Willow dark. There's no other logical way that does that.
That gets her that dark that fast. I think they could have done, I definitely see another character, other circumstances happening where Willow kind of like slowly goes down that path again, or like even does like a big relapse. But they obviously wanted to get her like completely dark immediately. Like
it's what was going, it was what they had planned, because Joss Whedon was famous for planning things way early in the show to happen seasons later, to you know, complete seasons later. So all throughout season 6, they were trying to build that up. Dark Willow was coming at the end of season 6, and they just had to figure out the best way to get there. And like in the very beginning when she's talking to Giles and she's like, maybe you shouldn't piss me off. And then you're like, holy shit, fucking Willow. Didn't you, Mom? Didn't you used to see the softer side of Sears, Willow?
I do like to hope, in a current day and age, and the good thing is this relationship in the current day and age is not.
It's more common now.
It's more common.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I do like to think the writers maybe could have, just like with the other scene they were talking about, like pushed themselves to do something a little different. But I don't think they were coming from a place of hatred. I think they honestly were just like trying to get to the storyline that they wanted. And this was how they put the pieces together and just really didn't
think it through as far as what kind of effect it might have.
I think that goes to representation in these writers' rooms, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, because Buffy's also famous for not having a lot of like black writers, gay writers. But even then, even if you have, someone who's like gay in the writing room, they could still even miss
for sure.
like the impact it could potentially have, especially when you're doing groundbreaking stuff like Buffy was doing.
Yeah,
that like this has never really happened before in this way. You're setting the rules, and then you're breaking the rules, and then sometimes when you break the rules, you can really piss people off.
I think another thing that turned people off was, especially this episode, there's a lot of people come to Buffy for escapism. It is a fantasy horror genre show, right? Like, you're not typically dealing in guns and things like that. And to have basically a major character death by a gun, and to also have the other scenes that are in this episode, I mean, it all adds up actually to a bit much, and I think really turned some fans off.
That's why season 6 is so divisive, is because a lot of people they were planning to stop at the end of season 5.
Right.
And they were like, we could keep going. There's more story that we could tell. And then as soon as they, were able to get to UPN, or UPN were bought them, they did a drastic change in tone. And so I could totally see why this season is so divisive, because we were mostly fantasy before. You had The Body, which was a hyper realistic episode.
Yeah.
And then season 6 is basically not, like, for the most part, not always, but for the most part, is basically The Body as a whole season of, like Carrie was saying, it's more hyper realistic. Like, we're going into real world stuff now, and less.
Well, and just everyone's storylines are, I mean, I guess particularly Willow and Buffy, their storylines are much, much darker than they've ever been. And I think Sarah Michelle Gellar has been vocal that this was her least favorite season, because she felt like Buffy was so out of character in this season.
Well, that's the thing. And that, not that she's wrong, she is Buffy, but she's just like us, that she can have her opinion of how the character is. Well, and I can see where she's coming from, because she is different. But I think that's the whole point of, like, the thing is she came back and she is kind of different.
Yeah.
And they even, like, with Spike, when he finds out he can hit her and not, have a brain attack. What, brain attack?
Brain attack.
That's a great band name. She's different. I don't know. It makes sense, but it's a very divisive season for reasons. Although there are, like me, a lot of defenders out there, and I really, really love the season. So I don't know.
This is my second favorite season. I think. I still think season 2 is my favorite, just because I love Angelus as
I'm at
a
too,
villain.
buddy. Season 2 and 6. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. The one thing I love, and Chad brought up the body. During the bathroom scene in this one, they have a body type moment where all the music drowns and there's no background music or anything. It's dead silent. I think that's what makes it even more kind of creepy, unsettling, and kind of depressing, is that you don't have that Buffy background music where she's fighting people and it's kind of fun. It's a dead serious, season, but I kind of appreciate that, because the whole, as you guys were saying, the whole season was that Buffy was coming back from heaven, and as she tells Spike, I feel like I'm now in my personal hell, because of the fact that she was in a place she loved. She probably saw her mom. She probably had everything that she wanted, and then again, without her consent, she was brought back. And I think that consent, control, kind of the dynamic of heaven and hell is really, really an interesting way, and they really dive deep into that aspect of it. And then of course you have the addiction and things like that I really love when shows can be serious and tackle serious issues in a way that everyone can understand. It doesn't make anyone feel stupid. It doesn't make anyone feel like they're not able to catch up on anything. And even episodes like Seeing Red, which are very divisive, and we have our feelings on it, I think it does serve a purpose of, like, shit like this happens and we can't just kind of gloss over it. And I also think, was this the first time that a gun was used in this show, or am I mistaken?
Well,
No.
they didn't use it in Earshot, but it was brandished in Earshot. I don't think he actually shot.
She uses a bazooka.
She does use a rocket launcher.
A rocket launcher.
Is that
Fair.
a gun?
Fair.
And also no, because you have I Only Have Eyes for You with the ghosts.
Yeah, that's right. That's
yeah.
right.
So there's other episodes with
There's
guns.
Okay.
But although I only have Eyes for You, it's ghosts with the gun.
Ghosts with the gun.
Yeah, this one's more human, like.
Yeah.
Like it was a human using a gun instead of like a supernatural element coming in to do it.
But
you know what I mean?
You hit a really good note about kind of like the thesis of the season, Hunter, and it's why I kept talking about, like, I boil it all down to one word, as control. Is because everyone is losing control, and it's because this is kind of like the first season where he is thrust into adulthood now, like for real. Like, it's not college, it's not like immediately after college, or still kind of in college, even though some people are still in college in the season. But everyone's going into adulthood, and when you get thrust into a world where you're losing, like, Joyce died, Giles left, and you're kind of like, what do I do now? Give me something to sing about. Where do we go from here, kind of a deal. So it is I loved what you said about the season, Hunter. That was a great point.
Thank you.
Seeing Red, we have a lot of thoughts on it. I love the final shot, and it is
Dark Willow's
face, and her eyes are red, and she's seeing red because she's pissed and sad and just all this stuff, in the thing.
I forgot I like the part where Buffy smashes Warren's balls in this episode.
Oh yeah.
Again, this right. Going back to why Warren, brought the gun, and again, this is also realistic. He got his pride hurt. He got his ass kicked by Buffy and couldn't handle the fact that a woman kicked his ass.
That's absolutely true. Yep. That's
and that's an incel move right there, to kind of fight back against that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the Riley stuff in season 5 when he couldn't, I can't keep up with you. And it's kind of a deal. It's like, who cares?
Yeah.
Fine.
I don't. We could honestly do an entire episode just on this one episode.
Yeah.
We could, and we should move on.
Yeah,
but
we should move on.
Yeah.
I do love that final shot just because I really love Dark
So
Willow.
we just have 2 left, right?
We just have 2 left, and they kind of blend together. So
Yeah, that's true.
we already talked about Grave.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So villains.
All right, let's move back over to Carrie.
Yeah, villains is the next one. So that's the one where everybody's running from Willow cuz she is pretty dark.
Yeah.
This is the one where she kills Warren.
Yes, at the very
Which
end.
is kind of crazy.
Oh,
She flays him alive,
Yeah.
skins him, and like
oh.
because her friends are coming, and she's like,
Yeah.
the wave of her hand. It's insane.
Yeah.
That shocked me, by the way.
Yeah,
Go
it
ahead.
is pretty shocking.
Mm-hmm.
What else? There's a lot of like jail scenes. I'm trying to think where I put this here. Oh no, wait. Maybe the jail scenes are in the next. I think the jail scenes are mostly in the next one.
In
actually.
this one,
They run to. No, I think it's in the next one.
no, the next one they're already in.
They're trying to break them out of prison.
Oh, you're right. No, you're right.
It just
Yeah,
it
you're
bleeds
right.
together
Sorry.
a little bit.
It does.
Because there's scenes, Buffy has to like Willow takes the bullet out of Buffy, and
I
then
love that part.
they're driving and they're trying to follow the bus because they think the trio is on the bus,
and she uses that same bullet to torture Warren.
Yeah,
and that part is freaking scary. That's one of those things to where what Willow is doing to Warren, because I'm such a like kind of pacifist where I'm just like, Warren is a terrible human being, but he's still a human being, and Buffy knows that, and she's like, you can't kill Warren because it's what it would do to you, but also he's a human being and we don't have that say. We can't just be vigilantes and just go around killing whoever we want, because people. And what she does to Warren with that bullet, I'm like, oh, no one deserves that. Holy shit.
I'm still gonna give this.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I'm gonna still give this a B, honestly, because I feel like for me, the 2 episodes between Seeing Red and Grave really just run together a lot. And it's a lot of reaction and setup for the finale. It's like 2 episodes worth of like reactions and setup.
Mm-hmm.
And like the most notable part is Willow killing Warren. But to me, otherwise, this episode, it's a lot of like getting the characters to where they need to be for the finale.
I agree with you in that this is a lot of setup, but where I disagree with you is I think that Villains and Two to Go are both A episodes.
Okay.
Just because it's a lot of fantastic setup. Like I said, I love Dark Willow. I love seeing her go from happy, almost healed Willow to just right down again, but she's so got the dark energy with her that she becomes like a different person. You have Dawn going trying to find Rack so that she can find Willow, because she thinks that if she can talk to Willow that she can fix it. And when she finally talks to Willow, Willow's like, holy shit, just tears her down. She's
Hi,
like,
Donnie.
you hide. Wouldn't everyone would probably be a lot happier. You're so annoying. Everybody would be so much happier if you were just a ball of energy again. Wouldn't you be happier that way? I think you would. And it's great because it's like, it's almost like all of the people who hate Dawn are manifested in Dark Willow. And then I'm like, well, maybe if you hate Dawn, maybe you're the villain a little bit there.
I like Dawn. I don't care what anyone says.
She's a teenager So if you hate on Dawn, you're being a creep. That's all. That's all I gotta say. You're being a creep if you hate on a
I
little
think you
kid.
can hate teenagers, but
No.
Dawn is not like a hateable
I agree.
teenager.
Okay. Okay, maybe I went a little too far, but yeah, I love Dawn, so that's why I'm a defender. But yeah, she's cut down here, and then yeah, she has to go find Warren. She goes to find him on the bus. It's a robot. It's just fun to see kind of like the cat and mouse game between Willow and Warren, and it's almost like you think she's so powerful that she could just snap her fingers and Warren would just be dead. But she's got to build it up, and it's fun to see over the 2 to 3 episodes how they control the Willow thing to see that she's so powerful, but then she starts to drain, like her batteries drain, and she's on the truck. Where I'm going into the next episode already. She's on the truck, and then she starting to drain. And it's just interesting to see how all that happens. And then when she finally gets to Warren and starts torturing him, and he's like, I'm a bad guy, I deserve to be in jail, kind of a deal. And I'm just like, yes, Willow, he needs to be in jail right now. And then she kills him, and it's rough. So I think this episode's great. I don't know, I just love the whole 3-episode arc.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we have one for B, one for A. I gotta give it an A tier. I think one of the standout scenes to me in this episode is the very beginning where Willow is using dark magic to try to get this demon to resurrect Tara, and he's like, well, no, like Buffy's case was special because you know it was supernatural. This is a natural death. And Willow goes, what is natural about this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. Like the idea of dealing with, like, again, messing with life and death. And like, again, I think I brought this up in the chat. It's like I was watching a video and someone was like, because Willow decided to use dark magic to bring back Buffy, the dark magic took something away from Willow. Yeah. Where it's like, hey, like, all right, I'll bring Buffy back, and you'll think you have happiness, and then I'm taking it away from you because you messed with something that you shouldn't have messed with.
Yeah, very interesting thought. I do want to say, and I showed Carrie this part again because I love when she talks to the big face, Osiris or whatever. She's like, Osiris, help me, bring Tara back. And then he's like, it can't be done. And she's like, no. And he's like, ah. I love how she like knows him away. Like that's how powerful she is.
The most depressing scene in this episode is when Dawn walks in and finds Tara's body on the floor, and she like crawls into a ball like right next to the body, and she's like trying to hold her face away to not look at her, but like, and then Buffy comes in and has to like kind of hold her away from it to shield her from seeing Tara's body.
And then when she sees Willow for the first time after going dark, and then Willow's like, she's like, I found Tara, and then Willow's like, did you cry or something like that? I'm like, oh my God. Willow's gone full dark here, dude.
Yeah, crazy. And I don't know, I there's a lot of great moments in this, and as weird as it's gonna sound, I kind of wish they would have started with the dark Willow arc in like episode 10. I think a mid-season where like we have like 11 episodes to deal with, dark Willow and like what she's gonna do, and kind of the cat and mouse game. I think it would be better if they had her be the villain for the last half of the season instead of being it for the last 3 episodes of the season.
So you wanted Dark Willow to be more of like an Angelus type.
Yes.
I don't know if it would have worked, but I'd have to think about it, to be honest.
Just the idea of like Buffy having to try to control, like, should she kill her friend? Is there a way to bring her back? Is there a way you can there's so much you can do that you didn't get to do in 4 episodes.
Probably argue that they'd be copying season 2 a little bit.
Yeah, and they do an abbreviated version of that, right? Like I mean, Buffy is like at a certain point, she's like, Willow's got to go. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Xander's really the only one who's willing to, you know, basically try to still get her to stop without killing her.
Yeah, Buffy does get to that point.
Yeah, I feel like almost doing that though, like I don't know if Dark Willow could last a full, like her character could last like Angelus, it was like, because it's like a separate personality almost. Dark Willow kind of is, but I don't know. I feel like maybe it would have gotten old pretty quickly.
Or maybe have her, as you guys were saying, like maybe have it where it's not an immediate dark turn when Tara dies. Maybe she starts using magic again and again and again, and then by like episode 16 or 17, then she's full Dark Willow because the magic has finally taken over her mind. You get to see kind of the
like
evolution.
How this one though, I feel like does kind of closely model like a true relapse and addiction.
Yeah.
It's just that's one thing can
that's where I'm coming from as well, because you know, she was on a path and then she had a fall, or wait, she had a decline, she had a steep fall, and then she had a rise because she was healing, getting better. Things were, and then getting back with Tara, everything's getting good now, and she's totally respecting magic. And then a steep like drop, like off.
To be fair, I love Dark Willow so much. I probably just wanted to see more episodes with her.
I totally get that. I do think though that what we got is a lot, because it's straight up like 3 episodes, and it's rough.
By the way, I love how the dynamic of Willow and Buffy. Buffy is like, we can't kill humans, and Willow's like, but you kill monsters every day. He's another monster. Why aren't we going out there to kill him?
That's a good point too. It's kind of like the distinction between at what point can you do so many bad things that you become a monster. Which we could talk about in real life situations when we talk about, like, you know, criminals and prison and the death sentence and all that.
Or the Batman and Joker situation, where it's like, how many times is Batman going to keep putting Joker in prison just for him to escape?
Yep.
So
but the lesson is Willow should not have done what she did.
Yeah.
And Warren should have gone to jail.
All right, let's move on to 2 to go. Chad?
Sure. I'm also, like I said, A with this. Carrie's right. It's a lot of setup for Grave, but I think you need it. I love how it's, you know, kind of like a 2-parter kind of a deal with things on the run. You know, Andrew and Jonathan get locked up, and I love to see Jonathan's arc, because, you know, Jonathan is the best of the trio as far as immediately kind of being like, this is all wrong and this is not fun anymore once we start doing like really fucked up shit. When we were just like putting Buffy in a time loop, it was kind of fun, but now that we're killing people, this is not my style. And then he starts to try and help, and and when people shame him and go, you've been bad, he immediately backs out, like, I know, I've been bad. And then he tells Andrew, like, we have to go as soon as we're done all this, and we're not dead from Willow, I guess. We have to go turn ourselves in and do our time. And I think, you know, I love that redemption arc for Jonathan there. I love them being on the run. I think it's really fun. We get a lot of really like funny lines from Andrew and Jonathan. You know, I don't want to. Okay, we get more from them in season 7 is all I want to say. And Andrew is kind of one of my favorite characters in the entire show. That's all I'll say. season 7. Okay, so that's
I don't know how that's possible.
little bit of a hint for season 7. Go ahead, Karen.
You'll see, Hunter.
I kind of love Andrew, but Tucker's little brother I love. But yeah, we'll get there.
I can't wait to watch the show again and then see like the evolution of Andrew.
Yeah, well, you'll see it in season 7. So, but yeah, I love them being on the run, going to the magic box. You know, the stuff like it ends epically, like I said, with Giles coming back. You know, we've had this absence of Giles, and it's felt. And then when he returns, you're like, Giles. You know, it's like a really great moment. It's a great ending. I love like Willow breaking down the jail and Anya popping in there and like teleporting in there with her vengeance demon self. And she's like, I can't transport you out. What else? The truck stuff with them fleeing in the truck and not knowing where to go.
Spike starting his soul arc.
That's right.
Yeah.
Spike's doing all of his trials, which are pretty crazy and epic, and the bugs and the guy with the flaming fist.
The bugs were so creepy.
Yeah,
Oh.
and you get to see how kind of badass Spike still is. Yeah, and that demon's creepy. There's a lot of really great stuff in the episode. I say A.
Carrie?
I think it's great.
I still am gonna say B for this one. I think this episode is even more set up than the last one, but like the best part of this episode, and it is fantastic, so I won't be mad if it gets A, is when Giles comes at the end. That part is amazing.
Uh-oh, Daddy's home. I'm in trouble now.
I love that
Dark
part.
Willow has the best quips.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I wanted more of her. I wanted more of her dark quips.
Get off me, super bitch.
Super bitch. All right, so Carrie, you go on B tier, you said?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to add?
No.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go low A tier. I think with it is more setup, but I like the setup that they're doing. And then it was at a B, and then the Giles thing at the end happened, and I literally jumped up and I was like, "Yeah, Giles!" So anything that can get that emotion out of me, I have to bump it up just a little bit.
I want to see. I just imagine Hunter watching this, and Giles shows up, and he's like, "Who?"
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
by the way, this is the box set DVD for season 6, and Dark Willow's on there. So
It
Yeah.
really ruined.
it spoils
spoiled.
the arc.
Why would you do that?
Because it's a badass image.
It's a badass image, but everyone knew what was going to happen now.
And Buffy's in her once more with feeling shoulder dance.
Yes.
Red dress. Life's a song.
Yes.
We all play our part.
All right, so that is all episodes. Let me go ahead and go through the list real quick. So S tier, we have Normal Again and Grave. A, we have Double Meat Palace, Older and Far Away, Dead Things, Hell's Bells, Villains, and Two to Go. B, we have Entropy. Is that how you say it? Entropy and Seeing Red. And then C, As You Were. So I am super excited to get into season 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what happens. You guys have made me a Buffy fan, so thank you for that.
Dude, we're so happy that how into the show you are, and just from a totally different perspective. And we just always love to hear your thoughts on it. And we end up normally agreeing on pretty much everything. And we didn't know how this discussion was going to go because of, it's very rough. But, I think we did it very respectfully, and we were able to have like a really great discussion here. And I'm so excited for season 7. It's one of my favorite seasons, but I don't know, all of them are my favorite seasons. But I love season 7 so much. I think it's a really great finale to the show. And it's dark, but it's not dark in the same way that
It's not season 6 dark.
It's not divisive like season 6 is. I don't know how many people love season 7 like I do, but there's just so much stuff in it that I think is really great, and it has one of the scariest episodes of Buffy.
What, season 7?
Yes, which is the one that you watched live.
I watched some of them, but it's
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I know, because if you watched it, it was cool.
Yeah,
it was cool.
We'll talk about it when we get there. But
nice.
Season 7 rules, and I can't wait to talk about it, buddy.
That was good. Like, people kind of crap on it, I think, but it's mostly because it came after such a rough season, and then it is the end of Buffy. So
I think people also just kind of like might be just iffy just in general on the UPN seasons.
Yes, I agree.
I think like I just love the WB 1 through 5.
I just
they even hate on one a lot.
Well, and a lot of people are like, I just like the high school season.
I don't know. I think 2 and 3 are some of the strongest.
Some
people say 3 is perfect.
3 is a lot of people's favorites, and it's not my favorite.
Some people say it's perfect. Some people
I would say I think I like 7 and 4 better than 3.
Interesting. Some people say that 3 has like no skip episodes.
I mean, I don't think there are any Buffy skip episodes.
But you know what I mean? Like, as far as I agree with that, because every episode's great in some way.
I have to say, I guess I just don't. I know everybody loves Faith, but I think I just don't love Faith.
Well, because Faith is the antithesis to Buffy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Faith is actually a really great antagonist.
I think after we get done with the season 7 ranking, we should do an overall season ranking. Not every episode, but just like every season.
Yeah, I agree.
So what I was thinking about doing, that on my ranking channel.
Ooh,
so
okay.
If you would rather do that, we could reference it. We can reference and say we're going to do that on my channel, and I want to get a lot of Buffy fans to be on it.
Okay.
I might want to have like a panel of 10.
Okay.
Just talking to Buffy, and
that would be fun.
Because what I want to do, and you guys can start on this now. It might be the same, it might be different, but I want to do a season ranking and I want to do a big bad ranking.
Okay.
The big bad would be fun.
I'll do the list of big bad, and then it'll be what I think are the big bads, and people would rank those.
Really?
Yes. Because I think my opinion is the correct one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, name the big bad by the season and rank it, because then I think for season 6 you might get some differences, and I think that's really fun.
We'll have to workshop it, but
the rest of the seasons, it's very obvious who the big
bads. The big bads are 100% the mayor, Angelus, the master, Adam, Glory, Dark Willow.
We'll save the last one,
and whoever is
it's obvious.
The big bad for season
They're
7.
there.
I will say I really
I don't
love
think we
Glory
find
as a
out who
villain.
it actually is at first.
Oh, sorry, Hunter. What were you saying?
There is some really good twist in season 7. Sorry, what were you saying, Hunter?
I was saying, like, I really enjoyed Glory as the overall villain. I think her reveal as being a god was so cool, and I think that's kind of why a lot of people didn't like season 6 as much. Is because, like, where are you gonna go past a god?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I think I feel so bad. I keep forgetting the actress's name. She's in Bring It On, who plays Glory. But she apparently.
Oh gosh, I'm like Claire Kramer.
She apparently was very kind of upset about, like, how Glory ended, because it's kind of unceremoniously just like killed in her human body.
Yeah.
Yeah. Glory to me feels like Dark Willow. It's like she has so many like quips and like really dark humor that like I find myself laughing so much at the stuff she says.
Yeah, glory rolls.
I think though that's another reason why, Hunter, though, that they couldn't have Dark Willow for such a big portion of the season because they kind of might have been like
We've already done this with Glory.
Too similar to Angelus
just the prior
and
season. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Glory.
There's a lot that I want to do when it comes to Buffy on this episode, on this show. I hopefully will be able to get on your ranking, the Buffy seasons whenever you get to that. Whenever we finish season 7.
Yeah, I was about to say the only thing I'm waiting on is for you to finish Buffy. And then we can do it because everyone that I would invite to do it with us has already seen the show, so there's really not much prep. Unless some random person wanted to be like, let me rewatch the entire series first, then I'd do it. Unfortunately, we're gonna do this a little bit sooner. But I feel like most people have seen it so many times. Like once you become a fan, you're probably gonna want to watch it a lot. I want to make it a yearly watch, to be honest.
I love your shirt, Carrie. That's awesome.
You.
What about mine?
Oh, I didn't see that. That's cool. And then I'm over here rocking The Exorcist.
Nice.
All right. So Chad and Carrie, you guys want to do your plugs before we head out?
And Anya's like, Giles comes back and Anya's like, you can't have it. You said I could have the magic box. But anyways, so as usual, I already referenced it. Check out Chadwick Webb. We rank things. We're going to be doing Buffy rankings, Wes Anderson, a lot of other stuff soon. Check out the Dill Pickle Movie Network, where we do Picture This, where we do every Best Picture nominee we watch and we talk about. We just have a lot of great times doing that. And this month we're doing 1943. It's Love Month, so we're doing Casablanca. That's about it. Check out my letterbox, stuff like that.
All right. If you guys did enjoy this, hit that like button, subscribe to Nerd Entertainment Network down below. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.